It is Saturday Eve, and you know what that means. Week 5 of the college football season is quickly coming upon us, and we have a fantastic game coming to Austin Saturday at 2:30 p.m. The number 24 ranked Kansas Jayhawks are coming into DKR undefeated, 4-0 for the second time in 2 years, looking to go 5-0 for the second time in 2 seasons, and the first time since they went 12-1 in the 2007 season with Todd Reesing as their quarterback. It's been a long time. Texas is a 16.5 point favorite coming into this game. But if we know anything, we know that lines don't matter. And if you are not a college football fan and you haven't been around for the Kansas Jayhawks and the Texas Longhorns rivalry, well, let me just go ahead and remind you and painfully remind Texas fans of what happened the last time Texas was a 2 to 3 touchdown favorite at home against the Kansas Jayhawks. Take a look.
Here we go. Daniels, flushed. Daniels, end zone, caught! Kansas wins it!
If there's anything that Texas fans know over the past few seasons, is that any given Saturday, anything can happen. And with that being said, we're going to be taking a deep dive into this game. We'll be taking a look at what to expect from Kansas in that high-octane offense, how we can exploit their defense, and the things that Texas has to do in order to come out victorious in this game, and how we are going to get to Oklahoma come Red River Showdown week and go in 5-0. Without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right in. So let's start off just first talking about Kansas' head coach, Lance Leipold. He comes into this game with a 156-56 win-to-loss ratio record. A majority of those wins have come at the Division III level at Wisconsin Whitewater, but it doesn't matter what level of football you're coaching at. To win 150 games at the Division III level with 5 undefeated seasons, 5 15-0 seasons, whether that's D1, D2, D3, doesn't matter. That is a lot of winning football, which means what? Lance Leipold knows how to establish a winning program. He came to Kansas, first season, had a 2-10 record, went 1-8 in conference play, immediately jumped out to a 5-0 start last season before stumbling down the road. I believe they lost Jalen Daniels down the road and eventually ended up going 6-7, something like that. Now come this year, again, they got their quarterback healthy, they got their team healthy, and Lance Leipold has them out to a very solid 5-0 start. Now, to be fair, it's not like they've played fantastic competition in the first 4 games. Montana State, Nevada, Illinois, and BYU, right? BYU's a solid team, don't get me wrong. The other 3 teams, we know that they're just they're not great teams. They aren't great teams, they haven't been great teams, they won't be great teams for a very long time, yada yada. So we kind of have to take what we've seen from Kansas with a grain of salt. With that being said, what have we seen from them? Well, first things first, we see a very explosive and high-octane offense. Very high-tempo offense as well. Not the fastest, right? They're not like, it's not like OU where they want to be at the ball in 1.5 seconds. But they do want to run a high-tempo, get you in disposition as a defense, and get their quarterback and their playmakers into the open field while your defense is trying to get things figured out, right? So they not only are they high octane, they're high tempo, they're very, very multiple. They'll come out with 2 tight end sets, they'll come out in 3 tight end sets, they'll come out with 3 tight ends lined up as a wide receiver and shift them in to a heavier run set. They do a lot of motions, they have a lot of eye candy going on at all times. They're a very multiple offense, but that is what allows them to be so explosive. One thing about Lance Leipold's coaching tenure and the fact that he's coached for so long is that he's had a lot of opportunities to see a lot of different offenses and a lot of different looks, get a lot of different personnel packages in there, and he implements them all. Much like Steve Sarkisian in the Texas offense, Lance Leipold has an outstanding variety of formations and play calls to choose from. The Kansas offense, I don't think I've really ever seen them run the same play twice. And in the games that I've watched, the 4 games that I've watched, I can't recall Kansas running the same play twice. They may run the same style of play, but from a different formation, a different personnel package, a different side of the ball, different run blocking scheme. With that being said, what are they looking to do? They're looking to get their playmakers in space. And by their playmakers, I mean Jalen Daniels at quarterback, Devin Neal at running back, and Daniel Hightower, who has emerged as a secondary, a very good complementary running back to Devin Neal. They want to get these three players in space as often as possible. They want to establish the run game. Lance Leipold is an old school coach. He's an old head. Old school coaches, really coaches in general, know is that you have to establish the line of scrimmage if you're going to have an effective offensive game plan. If you want Jalen Daniels to be able to be as effective as possible and use his legs in the open field and use his arm to exploit your defense downfield, Lance Leipold understands that he is going to have to get his run game going. Right? He's going to have to get those big offensive linemen. He's going to have to let Devin Neal make his plays and get that run game established. Football is not overly complicated, right? The idea is the same no matter who's playing or what team you're going for. You want to establish the line of scrimmage so that you can open up plays downfield. Period. That is how you win football games. You establish the line of scrimmage, because if you establish the line of scrimmage, you make that defense cheat up. And if you're winning at the line of scrimmage as an offense, you can hold the ball and run the clock. And I think that, at the end of the day, what Kansas tries to do. Now, I'm not saying that that's necessarily a good thing, because as we've seen, when they tried to hold the ball and tried to keep it away from Texas for as long as possible, hey, we have an explosive offense and we can get down the field quick, fast, and in a motherfucking hurry. And we certainly do that. I think you're actually putting your team at a disadvantage if you try and hold the ball against us. What you want to do is try and score as quickly as possible and make it a shootout, right? You want to try and keep our defense on their heels. You can't let them get settled in and get that line of scrimmage established. It's going to be a very long day for you. They're going to want to get some screen plays, get our defense running east and west, right? That's what they've done in the previous 4 games, is they've tried to get the opposing defenses stretched out, running east to west and then hammering up the middle. They also have a great playmaker in number 47, tight end / H-back, Jared Casey. He reminds me a lot of like that Mark Andrew back when he was at Oklahoma, Andrew Beck when he was at Texas, that style of H-back player. He's a solid run blocker. He's great in the pass game. And if he gets the ball in his hands, he can make plays. He's a big dude, so you wouldn't expect him to be able to make the kind of plays that he does. With all that being said, we know that they're going to be high tempo. We know that they're going to try and get explosive plays down the field. I don't really think that they're going to have the wide receiver group to exploit us downfield, to be honest. I think where they're going to really try to attack us, like what Wyoming did, is on the outsides and try to get us intermediate in the middle of the field. We'll see how it goes. Now, one thing that we know about Texas's defense is we have a tendency to get beat deep sometimes, right? So I don't think that Kansas necessarily has a burner on their team that is going to allow them to get deep. They don't have an Isaiah Bond, right? They don't even have what is his name, Keyshawn Jackson or Kentron Jackson from Baylor, number 11. They don't have that kind of playmaker to just take the top off the defense. So we'll see kind of how Lance Leipold deals with that and how he puts his team in position to be effective and make plays. What Kansas wants to do and how they're going to present to us offensively, how is Texas going to take advantage of that defensively? Well, for starters, one thing, as good and as great of an athlete and a quarterback as Jalen Daniels is, as great of a leader as he is, and as great as an elite of a playmaker as he is, he has a high tendency to play hero ball. What does that mean? Well, because his receiving group is not that good and he knows that he can't really rely on them to get separation downfield, he holds the ball to try and extend plays for a very, very long time. Now, to be fair, that means that your offensive line is holding up, and his offensive line is pretty solid. They got some good guys up on that front 5, but they have not played an elite pass rushing team yet, and that's what they're going to get. They're going to get an elite pass rushing team on Saturday against Texas. And it's going to be interesting to see how Jalen Daniels responds to that. He's not going to be able to hold the ball for 5, 6, 7, 8 seconds in the pocket like he's done against some of these other teams. He's not going to be able to just step up and scramble and get outside. We're going to have players that can run with him, right? He's not going to be able to drift back in the pocket, which he does a ton of. He drifts back so many times, and that is what has led to so many of his sacks, is drifting and holding the ball. One of the problems with being the best player on the team and having to play hero ball so often is the fact that you're just going to force things downfield in an effort to spark the team, right? And he does that a ton. He will throw balls into coverage. He will throw balls where seemingly there's no play to be made, but the defense has opportunities to make plays on the ball. He will give the defense plenty of chances to take advantage of mistakes and give us short field. We're going to have plenty of opportunities to get Kansas playing behind the sticks. If you can get Kansas playing behind the sticks, our secondary and our D-line is really going to be able to step up and make some big plays. Now that we've established the Kansas offensive side of the ball, what they're planning to do, and how Texas can be effective against them, well, let's go to the other side, right? How is Texas going to be able to exploit Kansas's defense? And let's just be very flat out blunt and honest. Kansas's defense is not good. They allowed 24 points against a not very talented Nevada team. They allowed 20 points to BYU, but BYU had 4 turnovers in that game. Illinois broke off huge plays left and right, but also forced many turnovers or committed turnovers in that game, which allowed, Kansas to separate late. But let's get one thing very clear and understood now. Kansas' defense is not good. They're opportunistic, and they have good players at positions. Kobe Bryant at corner, Kenny Logan at safety. But they do not have an all-around good defense. And that front seven, unlike Texas's front seven, which is extremely stout and very hard to run on, Kansas's front seven, it's like a sieve. If we can get DJ Campbell and Jake Majors split in the middle, the interior of that Kansas D-line, let me tell you, I think Jonathan Brooks has himself a 150-plus yard day. What is Texas going to have to do against a not very good yet opportunistic Kansas defense? One, they're going to have to establish the line of scrimmage. We are going to have to blow Kansas' defensive line off the line of scrimmage and get Jonathan Brooks and CJ Baxter going very early. The more that we can punish them up front, the longer of a day it's going to be for that Kansas defense in general. I think they will run. I don't necessarily think we have to run for anything, but I think they will run easily for over 100 yards collectively. I wouldn't be surprised to see Jonathan Brooks have himself another 100, 150-yard day, maybe a couple of touchdowns in there as well. We're going to be running a lot of screens and a lot of RPOs. Why? Because Kansas' defense cannot protect them. We're going to get them to play in the box, and that's going to allow Xavier Worthy and Adonai Mitchell open deep. And once they start getting open deep and they get Kansas' defense running way backwards, Jatavion Sanders and Jordan Whittington are going to be open over the middle. I mean, I know it's like I'm saying, well, if they do this, then Texas is going to beat them this way. And if they do this, then Texas is going to beat them this way. And, well, there's just no way that Texas can lose offensively. And to be fair, hey, call a spade a spade. I don't see where there's any way that Kansas keeps up at the end of the day. I think we have too many weapons. We're too talented. And at the end of the day, our mindset and our physicality is going to overwhelm Kansas. We're not coming into this game like in 21 where we're 4-5. We are 4-0. We are dominant. We're huge. And we're more talented than everyone we're playing. And they know it. Texas knows it. I think Quinn Ewers has a very efficient day, but I think he could have a really big day. I could see a 300-yard passing game with 3+ touchdowns in the air, along with 150 to 200 yards rushing on the ground. I think we're going to have a huge day. Huge. I think it's going to be huge. I think it's going to be a huge game for us offensively. And I think really at the end of the day, as much hype as there is going into this game, I just don't think Kansas can
Today, Junior.
Can't keep up talent-wise. I think Texas establishes the game early. They dominate the game early. And by the third quarter, I think the game is put away. Texas wins this game comfortably, 45-17. And while Kansas may do some things throughout the rest of the season, they're going to show why Texas is built different this year. We're just built different, right? And I expect that we're going to go out and show that. I think that we're going to make a statement against Kansas going into the Red River Showdown. Next week is the pivotal week of the season. And that's the one that we're going to be really looking forward to. So I don't really see Kansas giving us too much of a problem. Again, I think we pull away early, and I think that we shut this game down by the end of the third quarter. 45-17 is the final. We look on to Oklahoma and get prepared for the biggest game of the season thus far. So yep, that's going to do it for me, guys. I hope y'all enjoyed this breakdown. If you haven't already, please do me a favor. Subscribe to the channel. Like the video if you enjoyed what we talked about today. Turn on those notification bells so you never miss an episode, because we got tons of content coming out for y'all all season long. Because remember, no matter where you look, there's no better place than Mo Better Sports for your latest football takes. I'm Mr. Mo Better, and I'm out. Peace.